that was unbelievable to me. Honestly, it was, a dream of mine to say like 10K months and 20K months. So yeah, so I've changed a lot. I've grown a lot.
Yay. Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. So you went from $1,500 launches to $20,000 launches. Welcome to the Impact Driven Entrepreneur, the place to turn your knowledge and skills into $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 packages that create a sustainable business that makes over six figures, all without having to keep up with the latest social media trends or having to sacrifice time with your family. This is for you if you're a professional who wants to help people with your services and you're ready to kill it in your coaching practice. Let's get into today's episode. Welcome back. Today we are chatting with one of my friends, clients, and amazing stories that you are going to hear. Stephanie Schuttler. She is a wildlife biologist and she is a content creator online and an entrepreneur. And today we're going to be chatting about her story, some of the things that she went through on her journey, and some takeaways that you can implement into your own business so that you can get more clients and raise your revenue.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm so happy to have you. So tell us kind of where you were at before you started coaching with me and being inside of our programs.
I would describe myself as a hot mess. That's where I was. So I'm doing something very new in this area. So I am trained as a wildlife biologist, and I started a blog several years ago. Really liked doing the blog. I was talking about my research and wildlife and educating people. And then I also talked about my career as well and some of the struggles in terms of like finding permanent work. And I was also interested in doing stuff with kids as well. When I was doing my research, I actually worked alongside teachers. So we incorporated the research that I was doing in classrooms. So I had all these different like things I'm interested in, and I'm still interested in all these different things. But I was working on them all at once, and I didn't know which direction to go in. So they were all working, but not working well enough. And I really wanted to do this full time. And I just didn't really have any models to go off of. I was in the entrepreneurial courses. I learned about launching and everything like that. But I just felt like I just didn't have a good sense of direction. I wasn't sure if what I was doing was working. I mean, I knew to a certain extent it wasn't working, but it was like, do I keep working on this one thing and fix it? Or is this just not working at all? Do I completely abandon it? So I was just very lost and confused.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I remember actually wanting to book one of the things for my kids, because it was like around quarantine time. So it was about 1 year ago, right? You've been in the program for 1 year. So 1 year ago, which is so interesting to see where you've come. So excited to share that with everybody. So what made you decide to hire us and have us help you with your, I guess, basically the problem was like the direction of your business and kind of where you wanted to take things to get to being full-time in this. So what made you decide to hire us?
So I found you through a Facebook group, and somebody I think was asking about making their VA like produce, and you commented that your VAs produce 3 to 4x. And I had heard that before in one of my other courses I'm a part of. And I understood the principle of it, but I didn't quite understand how to get it to work with more intangible things like keeping track of Facebook likes. How does that translate into 3 times the salary? So I was intrigued by that. And I commented. So we started having a private message, and you offered to chat with me, and I was very intrigued. And when we talked, I was just blown away by the things that you shared me. Just not even, we actually, I don't even think we actually talked about virtual assistants that much. I think we just talked about like the direction and the processes, and I didn't have any processes in place. And yeah, actually, so that did have to do with a virtual assistant, that I did not know how to train them. I wasn't training them in an effective way. And you just, I mean, I say this a lot in my career, you don't know what you don't know. And you showed me your computer and like all these different things you had. And I'm not from a business world either. So, you know, like even talking about onboarding, I'm like, I was onboarded in Starbucks like over 20 years ago. That was it. That was the only thing I was ever onboarded on.
Right. And so you had like one go at being onboarded, right? You probably had no idea you were even being onboarded.
Yeah, I had no idea. So
Yeah.
I had no structure to my business. And I was just like, this is really, I need this. Like, yeah.
Yeah. So it was, I think what I'm hearing you say is like, it was understand or seeing that you didn't have things in place that would allow you to even utilize that VA properly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I was so, and I was like this for a long time. I was so fixated on making money because I'm going through a divorce, and I was doing my blog full time because I had the support of my ex's salary. So I kind of didn't have to worry about money, but I was very unhappy in the marriage. So I decided to leave, and I all of a sudden had to make money on my own. And so one of the reasons, in addition, because I loved it, was also I had a really hard time finding a job. And that's what I talk about in my my career mentoring, is that I wasn't trained for the job I wanted. I was trained for a different job. So I couldn't get the jobs that I wanted. And the jobs that I qualified for, they're pretty few and far between. I really didn't want to move. So yeah. And I loved what I was doing so much. I didn't want to go back. And I mean, I knew it would be going to be hard to find a job, but I didn't want to work for somebody else. I really loved what I was doing. So yeah, I was really focused on like, okay, how do I make money as fast as possible? Like, you know, so I can be on my own. But I didn't really take the time to like slow down and figure things out and really understand. I mean, I thought I knew my audience, but then once I started talking to them, like I remember you talked to me, you're like interview your audience. And I was like, I know them, like, and I learned so much from talking to people. So just like really taking the time to slow down and fully understand like what you're doing, who you're helping, what they need, all those things.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you joined our program, like what was it like? So I just want to contrast this because I get so often, and I know you've been in some of these programs, right? We often hear like, oh my God, it's going to be this ginormous group. I'm going to be one in a million people. I will never get to speak to the coach, right? So like contrast that with like how it was in our program.
Yeah, so it's not like that at all. The very first call I showed up, and I think there were like maybe like 7 or 10 people on the call. And I think everyone got a chance to talk that wanted to talk. Yeah, it was, I mean, it was you were very accessible. That's something that I also really liked because like you mentioned, I was part of these courses. So I knew what to do, but I had no one to you know, ask my personal questions to like, you know, like I'm stuck here, like which direction should I go? And then also just the mentoring too, the mindset, like there were several major times when I was like, I don't know if I can do this. I'm doing it wrong. This is not right for me. And you didn't talk me out of it, but you talked me through things and like, what do I really want? And help me see that, yeah, this is what I really want. And also the things I'm telling myself are not true. They're just stories that I'm telling myself. So yeah, so for you, it was really, I mean, honestly, it was like having a one-on-one coach. I felt like, I don't even feel like it was group mentoring. And the group mentoring is great though, because again, you don't know what you don't know. So others ask questions that you're like, what's that? And like, oh, I need that. And then you grow from that. But yeah, I felt like all of my questions were answered, and I always had access to you.
Yeah. And that's like really, really, really important to me, because that is not always the experience online. So thank you for sharing that. Okay. So what are some of the results? So we talked about where you started. What does your business look like now? And what are some of the results, either tangible or intangible, that you experienced in the last year?
So I was selling courses. I think I had 2 launches before, well, 2.5-ish launches. So I was selling a program, but it wasn't that expensive. It was, I think the first time, maybe $97. And the second time I did raise the price a lot to about $500, but I was having problems selling it. And then I sold a video series from the course afterwards. And my audience, I had this, story in my head that my audience does not make a lot of money. And, there is some truth to that. We have low salaries in our field, but people will prioritize, they will spend money where they want to, if they really want somebody. Like I actually was talking to somebody who was thinking about taking a $3,000 like they thought it was a training trip. I don't think it really would have trained them that much. And then when I talked about my course prices, they're like, I can't afford that. So I did learn that, and people have unlimited learning income potential. So there's so much you can do on your own. But anyway, back to, so I had sold to students, but I would say maybe 20 or something like that. And then I just was really convinced that I couldn't go high ticket, but
and what were you charging for those roughly?
The last time I charged it was $495 before I joined you. And I only sold 3 of them.
Okay.
And then the time before, I made the same amount, about $1,500. And I think I had 12 students. So
it was almost like a ceiling too. Like you were really stuck at that, 1,500. Yeah. Even increasing the price, because obviously if you had that many more students, but you were making, right, you had already increased the price.
Yeah. So it definitely wasn't enough to live off of. I mean, after I paid my MBA and all
in
of my
the US, right?
and stuff. Yeah. And so I was getting students, and I also was convinced I couldn't do higher ticket items or higher price items. But you mentioned that was the fastest way to get to financial independence. So I did have again, these alternate routes I really wanted to pursue, but this is the one that I was investing a lot into in terms of developing it. And it just seemed like the easiest thing to help people with. There was the most need for it. So I knew that audience the best too. With the kids thing, I didn't know parents that well. I didn't know what their struggles were. So I decided to go all in that. And I offered a $2,000 course. And I sold it, and I really couldn't believe it. The first time I sold it, I was like, oh my God. And yeah, so now I sold 22 now so far. And my last, I've been doing more launches. I did an email launch last time and I sold 10. So it was a $20,000 launch. And, I mean, that was unbelievable to me. Honestly, it was, a dream of mine to say 10K months and 20K months. So yeah, so I've changed a lot. I've grown a lot.
Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. So you went from $1,500 launches to $20,000 launches.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I don't think we've ever really talked about that number.
Yeah.
Which just makes me want to cry. But okay, that's amazing. So what are some of the things that have changed, right? For you, how do you feel? You said it was a dream of yours, right? So what are some things that are possible now? How is life different?
I'm just much more confident in my abilities and in my program. Part of the reason why I think I got the $20,000 launch is because I saw results from my students. So that made me really confident to be like, yes, this is really worth your money. You will make it back with your results, with all the clarity, with getting your job sooner. So it increased my confidence a lot. Sorry, what was the question again? I lost.
Yeah. How else has your life changed, right?
Has it
You're
changed?
making some big changes in your life too.
Yeah, so I'm more financially independent now. I was having to rely on my dad, honestly, to help me out financially. So I'm really close to being financially independent. I have a plan, and I'm on track for my plan to make a dream number this year. And yeah, I just totally feel confident that I can do it, because I've seen, like I said, I've seen results from my students, and I know what I do works. And I've talked to so many people too, and they are not getting what they need from college too. That's another thing.
Mm,
So I know I'm providing something that they're not getting at all.
yeah. Yeah. So it like has even strengthened your belief in the product and like what your like your
Mhm.
mission and
Yeah.
what the business is there to do. Yeah.
Yeah, because they go through college thinking they're going to get a job right away, and they don't realize they're going to have to volunteer. I really don't think they can get a job without volunteering to get experience. And then often they have to take these temporary jobs. So and they're just not taught how to compete either. They're not taught how to write resumes for this field. I mean, so many people, I just asked to see their resume, and I'm like, I totally understand why you're not getting jobs, because they're just not explaining their resume, why they're an excellent candidate for the position. Even if they are qualified, they're not explaining it well.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. So why has it been important for you to help these people? It feels like you keep coming back to like really helping these people and the
Mhm.
mission that you have, right? Because you're an impact driven entrepreneur. Um, so like what has been, how has that, like, can you talk a little bit about that experience?
I mean, it's been so rewarding to help these people, because I know exactly how they feel. I went through that. Like we choose this career knowing we're not doing it for the money. We know we're not going to that was never a dream to, be a millionaire, or even, to make six figures. We just wanted to make a salary that was comfortable, and you go through this thinking you're going to get a job, and then nobody tells you at the end how hard it is. And it's almost kind of like a bait and switch, or like you're tricked into it. And I don't think it's intentional. I think that just the professors are out of touch with what the job market's like. I think it has changed so much. So myself, having gone through that pretty recently, and knowing what it's like out there, it's like, oh, like this is what I wish people had told me. This is what I wish people had trained me in. And I'm kind of a weirdo in that I do like writing cover letters and resumes. And when I was first starting out, there was nothing out there about my field on the internet. It was like
Mm,
the earlier days of the internet. So I would go to monster.com and like look at resume examples, which were all for business. So I learned how to adapt it to my field. So I was pretty good at that. But then when I wasn't getting jobs, I realized it was because I didn't have that direct experience. So yeah, it was really painful for me to go through all of these years of getting a PhD, and then be done and find out you're still not qualified for jobs, and it's like
mhm.
you're still not good enough, but you didn't do anything wrong. It's just that you're not getting the right experience for the job you're applying for. So if I can get them early and say, okay, like think about the now, like decide now what job you want, because a lot of us, we just go through the process and then think like, oh, I'll take this job over here and this job over here, but you're like competitive for nothing if you're general. So
Mm,
really, like, I tell them, look at the jobs now, pick the jobs you want now, and train for those jobs. So they are getting the things that they need. They're not surprised at all if they're missing a skill or a critical experience or anything like that.
That's so awesome. So it sounds like you're able to really make a difference for these people in terms of like their entire basically working profession and where the trajectory of their life is going to go. And I think too, like just the idea of like bridging the gap for somebody who's so underemployed, right? Like a lot of your people have PhDs and are working in Starbucks, right? So like, I think that's just an enormous impact and just a really amazing thing that you get to help people to actually be in the career that they want to be in. So that's awesome.
And I genuinely care about them and what they want. Like I tell them if they go through my program and they decide wildlife biology is not for them, I will still support them and help them. And I had an Instagram post the other day about how what your research topic is really important and it sets up the trajectory for your job. And somebody commented that they get pushed all the time into doing a PhD by their professors. And most people shouldn't get a PhD, honestly. And most jobs, I don't know most. Yeah, I would actually say most don't require PhDs. So they're pushing you into the system that's not going to get you what you want.
Yeah. I can see where that like false bait and switch would come in right there, right? Yeah. All right. So what has, going through this program, really transforming your own business, being able to help these people, how has that set you up for the next stage of your business?
It's helped set up the stage because I'm really confident moving forward, that piece again. But I think really the thing about your program was all of learning how to create systems and processes in my business. And like, again, like stop worrying about the money. Like, I think one time I asked you a question, you're like, do you want to make money now? Or do you want to create, do you just want like a quick dollar, or do you want to create a system that works and that is functioning in the long run? And it's like, oh, I want to create a system that works. So understanding the importance of just having things in place and running my business like a business, not like it's only me and another virtual assistant. So it's not like I'm in this big company or anything. But when we're in this field, I think a lot of us, like our identities are blended with our jobs, and you're like a solopreneur. And so you're just used to doing everything yourself. And then you involve another VA, but you're not doing it like a business. You're just like, okay, here, do some tasks for me. And like really thinking about like, what is the most efficient way to do this? If this person all of a sudden quits or gets sick or can't help me, like, how am I, like you said, how would you can train somebody off the street who has no experience in this? That's what you should be able to do. And setting up your business so that you can sell it and someone else can run it. Not that's what we want to do, but to have all those systems and structures in place. So really, really doing that stuff and actually enjoying it too. I never thought I would enjoy that stuff.
Yeah.
But I kind of do now.
Yeah. And I think too, one thing that you said in a recent call that I think is really important is, with the time management, like when you went back, I think it was like your second or third time going through the time management section. But like, I think so often, like we go through something and like we understand it at a very superficial level. But the more that we get practice with it and then we review it again, we understand it at a completely different level the second, third time. So, have you had, I guess you want to share anything about those types of experiences with some of the content in particular?
Yeah, learning to manage my thoughts and my brain. And I had actually done a lot of work on that. So I thought I was far along, but I still had a lot to learn from you, especially when it came to working for myself. Like I have always been good at motivating myself. I didn't need motivation, but I would kind of do this thing where I would like work all day. And I have some health issues where I would get fatigued in the middle of the day. So I would sometimes take naps and then feel like I'm behind, and then like working into the night. So I kind of like was working like all day, but not getting stuff done like I should be. And just understanding like my approach to my schedule, my brain, just thinking about it, and then actually the actual structure behind it, and just learning the value of the discipline, and not like it's like oh, you have to get this done, but like associating it with freedom. Actually, I think in one of your program or one of your webinars, you say that schedule equals freedom. And I was like, oh my God, I've never, because I always thought like, oh, a schedule, like, you have to follow a strict schedule. But I was like, oh, right. Like if I follow the schedule, that means I have time off in the evening to do whatever I want, or on the weekends. Yeah. So just those mental switches about different things. Money mindset as well has been huge. But yeah, just learning how to manage my brain and those thoughts.
Yeah. That's like a lot of it, isn't it? And yeah, it's never over. Like I've shared with you, like I'm changing a lot of things in my business. Like it's required a whole other level, right, of the same process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So. And even like one of the courses you talked about, like if you just based on the statistics, if you make nothing I think it was your first couple of years, like if you break even, that's good compared to most businesses. Yeah. And I was like, wow. Cause like, I always thought it was like, I was doing horrible, because you listen to these podcasts and everyone's like, I had $100,000 launch by, like not really doing that much. But yeah, you learn that maybe they got $100,000, but they probably spent a lot of money too. That's right. Not the profit.
Right. What was the profit? Right. But I think in those first 2 years, like what you're learning is so much more valuable than the money if you're willing to take the lesson. Right. And I think that that's the key, right? Is you didn't waste 2 years. It's only wasted if you don't apply what you learned.
Right. Because then like you don't do things right, and you become an even hotter mess, and then you have to fix it all and yeah, slow down and get those structures in place. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Is there anything else that you think would be helpful for others who might be watching?
Just that the program has changed me. I mean, so much. Like I look back on, I'm a big journaler and I take courses. And I looked back like a year ago, and I'm like a different person. Just the way I think about things, what I was afraid of, just how much I believed in myself. And I've always been a confident person. Like I've given a TEDx talk. I've given tons of public speeches. I know.
You're on the History Channel. Is that, what is the channel?
I'm on the History and Science channel. So I don't
literally
have
on TV. Yeah. Something I would never go anywhere near. So,
but yeah, like, I think actually it's more about like the knowing, like before it was like, okay, I'm going to try to get to 20,000, or I'm going to, believe that I'm going to have a $20,000 launch. But there was, I don't know, there's part of me that like, just doesn't believe it, and it kind of rejects it. So like detaching from the outcome and just honestly focusing on the audience. That's actually what really helped me too. Like making my customers really happy, and knowing that it was a service for them, that if they enrolled in my program, it was the best thing for them. That actually really changed my perspective. Like, so I was not just selling them to make money, that I was really changing their lives. So I started thinking about that. And like, if I was their age and in their situation, how much my life would have changed. And yeah, so I realized, what I was doing was the best thing for them. That's what really helped.
Love it. Thank you so much. Where can people find you? Let's say they have a friend, family member, or themselves that needs help in the wildlife career, where can they find you?
You can just go to fancyscientist.com and that's my website. You'll find all my social links. I'm everywhere. If you send me messages, I'll respond. Yeah, it's the easiest way to find me.
Thank you so much for coming on. It's been a blast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.